Welcome to another interesting economics class. My name is Emmanuel Wido. In today's class, we are looking at the theme Development Economics and the topic Economic Growth and Development. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the concept of economic growth and development, state the differences between economic growth and economic development, list and explain the characteristics of an underdeveloped economy, and lastly, identify the factors that influence economic development. All nations desire to grow and develop, be it in human resources or in manpower. However, there are indices that indicate a growing economy and a developing economy. In this class, we will be considering those indices that signifies a growing economy and a developing economy. Now, what is economic growth? Economic growth is a continuous increase in the production of economic goods and services from one period of time to another. It occurs when a country increases in its input and output over a period of time. In economics, we have it that economic growth is equal to productivity plus hours worked. So for a country to be said to be growing, it should possess the following characteristics: increase and improvement in the country's workforce. That means we should have more persons working in the country. We should also see an increase in capital and machinery, which means that the amount of income and tools used for work should also increase. There should be some level of manufacturing. And lastly, we should see improvement in technology. When we are talking about improvement in technology, we are looking at a nation who is improving in its technological wealth. As we go further, let's look at what economic development talks about. In economics, economic development refers to an improvement in infrastructure, the economy of the nation, and the well-being of citizens. When we talked about economic growth, we considered just the monetary aspect, the revenue aspect of the economy. But when you're talking about economic development, you're looking at infrastructure, the revenue of the economy, and the well-being of the citizens. So you should take note of that. So for a country to be considered a developed or developing country, there are some indicators you should see. One of those indicators is an increase in real income per head, which refers to the gross domestic product per capita. You should also see an increased level of literacy and educational standards. There should be an improvement in the quality and availability of housing. So when you see a nation that has a lot of thatched houses, then you should know that such a nation is yet to attain this status. Furthermore, we should have absence of gender discrimination. And lastly, for this class, you should see an increased life expectancy. That means people should be able to live long enough to at least enjoy their pension and not die prematurely. Having considered economic growth and economic development, let's pick out some differences between these two important concepts. For economic growth, it is an increase in goods and services produced by an economy for a specific period of time. But when we are looking at economic development, we see it as a quantitative and qualitative increase in a nation's economy and other sectors. The second difference between these two concepts is that economic growth focuses mainly on income of people, while economic development focuses on income and standard of living. The third difference between these two concepts is that economic growth is a short-term process, while economic development is a long-term process. Economic growth is measured in terms of gross domestic product, while economic development is measured in terms of Human Development Index, HDI. And lastly for this class, economic growth relates to developed countries, while economic development relates to both underdeveloped and developing countries. We have looked at economic growth and we have considered economic development, and we have also stated that there are certain indices that tells us if a country is growing and if a country is not growing. So what then is underdevelopment? Underdevelopment refers to a state in which a nation experiences low real per capita income, high poverty rate, high unemployment, and an increase in mortality rate. So when you picture these variables in a nation, you should know that such a nation is underdeveloped. Underdevelopment of an economy is therefore said to have occurred when the standard of living in such a nation is extremely low due to the level of income earned, the infrastructures available, and the general economy of such a nation. So let's look at the characteristics of an underdeveloped economy or nation. Certain characteristics define an underdeveloped economy. These characteristics are absence of basic amenities, high rate of rural settlement, high degree of illiteracy, low standard of living, high population rate, and high mortality rate. As we go further, we will look at these characteristics one after the other. But this image throws more light on other characteristics that make up a developing economy. So we have technological backwardness, widespread poverty, unequal distribution of income, high level of unemployment, low participation in foreign trade, high rates of population growth, and low per capita income. Let us look at the characteristics that make up an underdeveloped economy. The first of them is inadequate basic amenities. A nation that lacks good roads, hospitals, and schools can be regarded as an underdeveloped or developing economy. The second is high rate of rural settlement. When there is migration from urban areas to rural areas in a nation, we could say that such a nation is either underdeveloped or developing. Thirdly, we have high degree of illiteracy. When there are no schools, it therefore means that citizens are not able to acquire education, and this in turn impacts on the nation. As such, the nation becomes underdeveloped. Another characteristic of an underdeveloped economy is high population growth rate. When a country or a nation experiences an increase in the population rate, this increase, if not managed properly, can lead to underdevelopment of the economy. How? When the resources available are not enough to meet the population rate, then we could say that they are scarce resources. As such, the nation is regarded as underdeveloped because most of its citizens will not be able to tap into the wealth of the nation. Furthermore, we have high mortality rate. An increase in the death rate of a nation's productive force leads to a drastic reduction of its productive capacity. This is as a result of poor medical facilities available in that nation. Lastly, we have low standard of living. When the cost of living is drastically high in a nation when compared to the income taken home by the working population, it means that such a nation is experiencing underdevelopment. As we proceed in this class, let's look at factors influencing economic development. There are various factors influencing economic development, but for this class, we'll look at just 5. Number 1 of such is provision of infrastructural facilities. Furthermore, we have acquisition of modern technology. We have diversification of the economy, agricultural mechanization, and then lastly, political stability. So let's discuss these factors further. Provision of infrastructural facilities. When the nation has the ability to provide basic infrastructural facilities for its citizens, we consider such a nation as a developing nation. Acquisition of modern technology. We live in a jet age, so when a nation moves from the use of old techniques to the adoption of new ideas, new innovations, we consider such a nation as developing technologically. Diversification of the economy. Diversification means that a nation does not dwell solely on generating wealth from one sector of the economy. This means that wealth can be generated from various sectors of the economy. Another factor is agricultural mechanization. When a nation moves from the use of obsolete agricultural tools to using mechanized equipment in agricultural production, such a nation will be able to maximize its productive capacity in the agricultural sector. Lastly, we have political stability. A stabilized nation encourages foreign investors to visit or come into them for investment. This investment goes a long way to improving the standard of living of the citizens, hence promoting economic development. Having discussed economic growth and economic development, let's conclude this class by taking a quick summary. In this class, we learned that a quantitative increase in a country's input and output over a period of time is referred to as economic growth. We also learned that economic development refers to the quantitative and qualitative increase or improvement in all or most sectors of the economy, and which can be sustained over a long period of time. We further learned that economic growth leads to economic development. We also learned that economic growth focuses mainly on income, while economic development focuses on income and standard of living of citizens. We further learned that some characteristics of an underdeveloped economy are high degree of illiteracy and high population growth. Lastly, we learned that factors influencing economic development are acquisition of modern technology, diversification of the economy, and good development plans. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Now let's test ourselves with few test questions to see how much we have learned in today's class. Are you ready? Question 1. A quantitative increase in a country's input and output over a period of time is referred to as option A, economic growth, option B, economic summit, or option C, economic development. The correct answer to this question is option A, economic growth. Question 2. Dash focuses on the income and standard of living of citizens in a country. Option A, economic growth. Option B, economic development. Or option C, economic systems. The right answer to this question is option B, economic development. This is where we draw the curtain close in our class for today. I hope you can differentiate between economic growth and economic development and state few features of an underdeveloped economy. Until I see you in another interesting economics class. Bye-bye.